few weeks ago, I asked you all what your biggest Sonic hot takes are, and I got a lot of comments. So today, I'm reading every single one. Be sure to stick around because a lot of these are pretty good. Before we start, if you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe as it really helps the channel out. Thank you. Now, let's get into the video. So what better way to start off this list than with William BK, saying Sonic and the Secret Rings is greater than Sonic Adventure 2. Wow, that is a great one to start off with. I mean, I agree with you in the fact that Secret Rings is really good. I love the game. I used to not like it until I got better at it, but it just has so much charm from the visuals and the storytelling and the story itself. But I wouldn't say it's better than SA2. I mean, SA2 is just awesome in my opinion. Fruit Snax says, Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast is greater than the best version of Sonic Generations. I haven't played much of the Dreamcast version of SA1, but from what I did play, it didn't seem that different, other than the textures and the unskippable cutscenes, but other than that, yeah, I would agree. Not that Sonic Generations is bad or anything, I still think it's fun, but yeah, I just love Sonic Adventure. Soniccarios 1 says, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds OST is not as bad as people say. All the remixes look great and I haven't seen any bad song yet. Just because it's different, people say it's the end of the Sonic franchise in terms of music. Similarly, Sonic Rush says, hot take, Sonic Racing Cruise Worlds OST is really good. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, I agree with this. I don't think the soundtrack's bad at all. Tracks like Water Palace, Metal Harbor, even Sand Road are just bangers. I don't think it's the best Sonic Racing soundtrack, but it's not bad. Z13 says, I don't think Sonic Generations has aged well in terms of controls. They just feel super clunky to me. I agree. I still love Generations, but my biggest complaint would probably be the controls. Especially with modern Sonic, I feel like when he's boosting he's fine, but when he's slowed down, jumps are slow, it's really hard to turn. I just don't really like his controls. That's just my opinion, of course. L Button says, Sonic Adventure 2 isn't really overrated anymore since there are a lot of SA2 critics. The kiss in Sonic 06 was actually a good decision. It was climactic and a great build-up considering how Elise wasn't able to express her feelings until Sonic came around. I agree with the first one. A lot of people think saying Sonic Adventure 2 is overrated is like a hot take, but everybody says that now. I wouldn't really even say it is anymore. As for the kiss in Sonic 06, I don't think it's as bad as people say, but to say it was a good decision? You can have your opinions, of course. I still love 06. It's one of, if not my favorite Sonic game, but yeah. Bruno Galactic Dubs says, Sonic Free Riders is good. The musics are the best in the Rider series, and the gameplay is great. The kinetic in this game is great, and the zones are really good. It doesn't sound like you're joking here. I know a lot of people will be like, are you serious? But I haven't played the game. I don't really know what to say, but I have a feeling I would enjoy a lot of things about it. But yeah, I can't really say much. Thanks for the comment though. Do appreciate it. Kiwi the Chao says, I like Knuckles' ending, no Super Emeralds, better than the true ending in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Yeah? I'm not really even sure what to say. I like both, I guess? I don't hate one ending, but, yeah, thanks for the comment. Dom's Let's Plays and other stuff says, Sonic Movie 2 is the worst in the franchise because of the dumb wedding scene. Okay, while I do think the wedding scene is bad, it's not that bad. It doesn't last for that long, and we still get a lot of good scenes throughout the movie. The movie introduced Knuckles, Tails, and even Supersonic, so I'm happy with that. Jacob Waddle says, Sonic Generations is overrated, in the modern Sonic part. It is so frustrating when you can't control yourself after you jump. There have been so many parts that I've died just because I cannot freaking move in the air. And I can't turn? I actually hate whatever engine that is. Yeah, like I was saying, I do agree. I think modern Sonic's controls are just clunky. They're not terrible, they could be worse, but they're just so unsatisfying. I also hate how the jump is like pretty pathetic unless you hold it down fully. I've had so many ledges where I try to jump and it just doesn't jump over them. But yeah, like I said, it could be worse. Supersonic Ninja says, SA2 is really overrated. There's just a lack of guidance. Well, if by guidance you mean what to do next, there are red orbs around in all the hub worlds that tell you what to do next. So, yeah, I mean, unless you didn't know that existed, I don't really know what else this could imply. Raphael Souza says, Sonic Generations is better than Shadow Generations. I personally prefer Shadow Generations over Sonic Generations. I think both are good though, but I just found Shadow Generations, especially the controls, to be better. One thing I will say that I think Sonic Generations does better than Shadow Generations are the side missions. I've just found it a lot more convenient to have the side missions just right there, but I know that is also a hot take of mine. Sonic Respinned says, I don't think Sonic had a rough transition to 3D. Yeah, I don't think anybody really thinks that Sonic had a rough transition to 3D, apart from them. But yeah, if you're referring to like 3D Blast, I can imagine, but not Sonic Adventure. Come on. Mr. Hot Take says, most criticisms of Force's story can be easily justified. Force's Eggman is the best version of Eggman since SA2. Oh, alright, we're getting some Force's hot takes. I don't think the story is that bad, to be honest. I think the story is better than the stories of games like Colors, Generations, Lost World. There is some stuff to like about it. And Force's Eggman is the best version of Eggman since SA2. I do think he's really good since he actually succeeds. And he has some serious moments too. So yeah, I can understand both of these. The Bootleg Show says, Shadow Generations OST is genuinely so underrated. Sure, there's a few tracks that aren't good, Chaos Island Act 2, but there are so many bangers like all of the Act 1 OSTs. Yeah, I don't think it's bad, but I feel like most of them, the originals just do it better. Sorry guys, please, don't hate me. Okay, I do think one they did better in Shadow Gens was Radical Highway, since it was kind of basic in SA2. Adding like the techno was pretty cool. Dime says, Sonic and the Secret Rings is better than Sonic Colors. Despite the janky motion controls, I found myself liking the game and enjoying it more than I did with Colors. Yeah, before I wouldn't agree with this take, but now, I think so. What makes me like Secret Rings especially more than Colors is the story. And the fact that Colors kind of destroyed the franchise writing-wise. Secret Rings just has so much charm to it. Paul the Cat is Cool says, Forces is greater than Colors. I don't know about that. I mean, I think both games are good in their own right. I don't like it when people judge these games, because at the end of the day, it kind of does come down to personal preference. Some people will like different styles of gameplay more than others. But yeah, I think both games have good things about them. This next guy, I don't know what your name says Ian Flynn is doing a great work with Amy in my opinion. She's now a real character. In the past, she was just an annoying, obsessed girl. I don't think Ian Flynn's doing a bad job with her. I personally prefer the older Amy. Now, I think Amy's obsession part was kind of annoying, but that was like the basis of her character. Issac M says, Sonic and the Black Knight is worse than Secret Rings and has pretty bad level design that is extremely similar to Force's. Nothing but empty hallways other than copy and paste hordes of enemies, and mindless Wii remote swinging. Alright, I gotta defend Black Knight here. But yeah, if you just mindlessly swing your sword, of course it's gonna be boring. But if you do what's called a combo swing, I found the gameplay is so much better. Like, it almost feels like a different game when you do it. I think it's better than Secret Rings, but both of them are like an A tier for me. Keo says, Sonic Colors art direction is peak for the series. It's zany and creative, but still has that Sonic edge to it. We need a new Sonic game with worlds like it. Okay, I agree with this one. Colors is just a beautiful game, despite being on the Wii. Each stage just has such a vibe to it. It's just awesome. I don't know if I would say peak, but it's really good. I should make a tier list on that sometime. Super Hapman 15 says, I don't like the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. I just didn't see the appeal of it or thought it has top tier writing like a lot of people tell me it does. Yeah, personally, I like the game, but that makes sense. It doesn't have much to offer besides the story and writing, and yeah, if you don't like those, it's kind of just a basic game. I really like it, especially since it is free, but yeah, I see what you mean. Thanks for the comment, Super Hapman 15. Milano says, I think the way Forces handled reusing older level themes is the best way to actually reuse levels. Don't just copy and paste the level themes directly. Give them all a twist. Green Hill slowly transforming into a desert area with giant sand creatures and broken robots, for example. It's just too bad they did it when Green Hill already was used way too much. I think most of the hate for them bringing back Green Hill and Chemical Plant is kind of unjustified because they're not really the same stages, besides the look of Green Hill. As for Chemical Plant, they changed up a lot of it, and they didn't bring back the themes, they added new ones, so I don't really understand much of the hate. Retrogamr says, Shadow Generations is glazed to the moon and back. Maybe Shadow Generations does get a little too much glaze. It was good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it's the best game in the series like a lot of people say. I think we can all agree it's still a great Sonic game regardless. Athanasios Contos says, CD is the best classic Sonic game after Mania. While I do think Sonic CD is a lot of fun, I don't know if I would call it the best classic game. I mean, once again, I think it does have to do with taste, but I do think Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favorite classic Sonic game. But it is just my opinion though. Roosevelt Milord Jr. says, Silver deserves his own year more than Amy, Metal Sonic, Blaze, and Knuckles. Since 2026 is 20 years from Sonic 06, it's the perfect strategy and will allow Silver to get the second chance he deserved. Yeah, I don't even really care which character it is. I'd probably prefer Knuckles, but I just want someone to just get the spotlight. With Shadow it was cool, I guess, but he was already really popular. Characters like Knuckles and Tails haven't even been really relevant in a long time, so. But yeah, especially Silver. Silver really needs something good for him. King568Z says, Silver is the best gameplay of Sonic 06. Wow. I think Silver's gameplay is awesome, but he's probably my least favorite, which says a lot because I think they're all awesome. But yeah, throwing cars and stuff is still pretty fun, and I have a lot of fun with this story each time I play it. Total Mike Lover says, Sonic Lost World is worse than Sonic 06. I know you will agree. Yep, you know me too well. Not that Lost World is bad, but I love Sonic 06. It's probably my favorite Sonic game. And yeah, Lost World's probably my least favorite of the mainline games, but I still think it's alright. I just don't prefer the gameplay style. T6 Red Hood says, Live and Learn is not the best Sonic song, and it's really, really overrated, like SA2. I do think it gets maybe a little too much glaze, especially since the movie had it. Now it's going to be like glazed tremendously. But yeah, I think it's awesome. It's a great final boss theme for SA2, but I personally prefer What I'm Made Of, if I'm being honest. Sonic Channel says, please read, but I think that the Werehog in Sonic Unleashed isn't that bad, or the mech shooting. I also love the Werehog too. I didn't at first, but once I realized all the different combos he could do, I had so much fun with him. Yeah, the mech shooting in SA2 I also don't think's that bad. It is a little slow, but you can still have fun with it. Sylvester Smith says, I don't really like the Perfect Chaos final boss from SA1. It's way too easy, and the switch from Open Your Heart to that generic orchestral song in Phase 2 really kills the atmosphere. It's not the worst final boss ever, but I see a lot of praise for it, and I just don't think it's justified. It is a cool final boss, but when people say it's like a masterpiece, I don't know, man. It is really easy, and yeah, once you get to the second phase where Perfect Chaos Revival plays, yeah, it is kind of underwhelming. But I would never say it's bad, it's just, yeah, a little underwhelming. Goofygoober says, Unleashed is more overrated than SA2, and it's easily the most overrated Sonic game. Here's how I see it. I think both Unleashed and SA2 are great games, but if I were to get mad at somebody for saying one was overrated, I would think the SA2 one would be more justified to say it's overrated than Unleashed, because Unleashed just has a lot of great things to love about it, like the graphics, the story, everything. But, I mean, SA2, it is very controversial with the mech shooting and the treasure hunting. I love it, but I'm just saying from like an objective standpoint. LegoAWCStopmotioner says, I don't get why Amy is the most popular female character. Blaze is a way better character conceptually and in execution. Amy might show up more, but at least the writers always seem to know what they want to do with Blaze. Amy is all over the place in how she's portrayed. I like Amy sometimes, but she's seriously overrated. I think Blaze is a better character than Amy just because she's more consistent, and she's just awesome. And sometimes she even rivals Sonic in terms of power. She had a great character arc in Sonic Rush, and yeah, I think the only bad thing about her is that she just doesn't appear that much. Don't come after me again, Amy fans, please. Adrian Ortiz says, I actually like Forces.
It seems like a lot of people are liking Forces now. Hey, to be honest, I would never get mad at somebody for liking a game. Maybe disliking a game that I like, but still, I'm glad you enjoy it. I think there are a lot of good things to appreciate about it. The graphics, the music, even the story. I think they're all pretty great. BulletStationProductions says, Sonic 06 has the best soundtrack in the series. It's one of them. Tracks like Crisis City, Radical Train, especially the vocal tracks like His World, All Hail Shadow, and Dreams of an Absolution, and the list goes on. They're just all bangers. I could spend all day just naming every soundtrack, but you gotta listen to the soundtrack for yourself if you want to know what this guy is saying. Iszy Brawl says, Sonic Adventure 3 is a stupid idea. I love Adventure 2, but at this point in the franchise, we have to let the past be the past. Maybe getting Adventure 3 nowadays would be a stupid idea, but back then, that would have been like the best sequel ever. At least if it was good. In my opinion, 06 is still Adventure 3. ChulkCharlie says, they should make more spin-offs like One Quick Pitch. An open world game with iconic locations like Angel Island, etc., where it would follow Knuckles going on an adventure to stop the mutation that's changing his physical appearance, with him in the Chaotix, maybe in Rouge. Dude, that is like my dream Sonic game, is getting a Knuckles spin-off where they just take advantage of his moveset and have it like open world where you explore stuff. Dude, that would be awesome. I'd pay big money for that. IvoDeuce says, the Planet Wisp stages in Sonic Gens are actually good. I think Act 2 is, but Act 1, it's always just a strain for me. I'm sorry. But yeah, getting through Act 1 every time I play the game, it's just not that fun. I guess you could say I half agree with this take. Sonic 4-1, haven't played 2, is a really fun platformer with fun level design, good music, and great visuals. I think Sonic 4 is overhated, mostly just for the name. But yeah, I like the gameplay. I wouldn't say the music is great. I actually kind of like Splash Hill Zone, but the other ones are kind of forgettable. And great visuals? I don't know about that. I mean, the visuals could have been better. I guess they're decent. Cool Ant Games says he despises Sonic Mania and lists a lot of reasons, like the art style being disgusting and horrible. What? He says, 1, it gets a lot of praise even though it's a fan game. Number 2, he says the art style is disgusting and horrible compared to the Mega Drive Genesis, and the special stage isn't bad compared to the Mega Drive / Genesis, and he says the gameplay is pretty boring, more than Forces. Wow. I'm sorry, I gotta defend Sonic Mania. I don't mean to completely diss your take. That is a pretty unique hot take, but I don't know. I've always enjoyed the game. But hey, you're free to have your opinions. Great hot take. Iwannabefamous says, I think Sonic Adventure 1 is overrated. I think the game is like meh. It's fine, but definitely not better than Sonic Adventure 2. That game is better in my opinion. I enjoy SA2 more than SA1, but I hate it when people compare these games. It just comes down to personal preference. I think both are good. They both give us really cool different takes on the adventure formula, and I really like it. So yeah, my conclusion is...
Both is good.
Mystery Man 026 says, the worst part of CD is the time travel. It ruins the flow for me. I prefer playing on time trials with no time posts. I think it's the best part of Sonic CD. I don't know what you talk about. You gotta understand that you have to use the time travel in order to find and destroy the generators, which, once you know the locations of them, I think that's a lot of fun. Mr.Indigo says, the SA2 soundtrack is arguably the most overrated Sonic soundtrack, and Lost World soundtrack is arguably top 5. I think this is arguably wrong, just kidding. But yeah, I think Lost World soundtrack is really good. It often gets overlooked. It has some great bangers like Honeycomb Highway, the Deadly Sixes theme, Dr. Eggman Showdown, and the list goes on. But come on, SA2 has such a good soundtrack, and not just the ones that everybody points at, like City Escape or Live and Learn. I like more obscure ones as well, like Green Forest, Final Rush, Metal Harbor, White Jungle, Eternal Engine, and the list goes on there as well. But yeah, music tastes definitely come down to personal preference, but I still see what you mean. Hissjesus says, End of the World was 10 times harder than Eggman Land. It was a relatively short stage, but just the amount of things that could kill you at any slight mistake is way worse in my opinion. Eggman Land is hard, but I feel like it's also kinda easy in a way. While there are a bunch of opportunities to die, they do litter a bunch of extra lives around, so you won't be getting game overs. As for End of the World though,
The only thing you really have to worry about are those black holes that spawn, but if you hit the bird-looking tower thingies, they'll just go away and you can just progress through the level normally for a short time. It was a little hard the first time, but after playing it 2 or 3 times, I got the hang of it. MysticClaws says, I've just recently played through Lost World for the first time, and even though the story / cutscenes / dialogue sucks, the actual game is pretty solid. Yeah, with Lost World, I've said it a few times, but I think it just comes down to personal preference, what you enjoy from the game, and Lost World just doesn't really give me what I want from a Sonic game. It doesn't mean it's bad though, but it's just not for me. I'm not going to criticize the game for being bad if a lot of people enjoy it, but hey, glad you had fun with it. Mattia ciccetti says, Sonic 06 is better than Frontiers. Yep, you know it. You've probably seen the discourse of this one on the internet, but I agree. And that's saying something because on my list, Frontiers is top 5, but I just like 06 that much. I think most people say this take because they don't like Frontiers, but I like both games a lot. But 06 I just enjoy more. Blade is Animating says, Sonic Heroes is underrated. I don't think it's the best Sonic game, but I think it's pretty good. I really like team mechanics too. Yeah, I think the game is pretty fun. Personally, I would give Heroes an A tier. I think it's great, but I don't think I could ever give it an S tier. It just has too many problems. But yeah, it is pretty good. I don't know if I would call it underrated, but yeah, still pretty good. Blade the Hedgehog says, I think Sonic Mania is overrated. This game gets way too much praise. I'm sorry, Sonic Mania fans, I've just never really loved the game. Another Mania hater. What is going on? Yeah, like I was saying, I think the only thing I could really hate about Mania is just the lack of replayability once you play the levels. But I wouldn't really say that's an issue though. But hey, I'm not going to say you're wrong. It's just your opinion. I don't think Mania could ever be my favorite Sonic game, but it's just so solid. 3 Knuckles I still think is better, but come on. The Epic Gaming Zilla says, Sonic Forces is better than Sonic Unleashed. I prefer short and easy levels over long and slow Werehog levels. I still love Unleashed though. Oof, the Unleashed fans aren't gonna like this. I think the Werehog is a little misunderstood because a lot of the enemies that appear in your way and tend to take up most of your time in the stages, you can actually run past them if you don't want to take your time. Yeah, with Forces, I think modern Sonic's fun. Classic Sonic I also think is pretty fun too. I think he gets a little too much hate. And the Avatar is basically more Sonic, so yeah, I could definitely see this when comparing to the Werehog, but if you bring in modern Sonic from Unleashed as well, for me, Unleashed just blows it out of the water. Ev Kinda Goofy 15 says, Sonic Adventure 1 has the best overall story and storytelling in the entire Sonic franchise, no question. Yeah, I think Adventure Story's great. I don't know about the best in the whole franchise though. That's a pretty bold statement. I really respect Adventure Story for being just so solid and the world building being pretty good. But it feels like it kind of stays more reserved compared to stories like 06 or Adventure 2. It's not a problem, of course, but it feels like there is a lot of potential missing. I don't know, what am I saying? I still love it. Citrus Seas says, the homing attack feels too automatic now. Yeah, that is true. I have noticed that. Back then, homing attacks felt like something you would have to commit to. Like, oh, you jumped, then you homing attack, you know? Nowadays, it feels like the enemies are just there just to be homing attacked. I don't think I can hate it though. I usually pick my hill to die on when it comes to criticizing Sonic, so I don't think the homing attack would be something I would criticize. But yeah, I can definitely see what you mean. Robbie Boy YT says, as much as I like Shadow, I like Metal Sonic more. I'm tempted to say based, but I know the Shadow fans will not like me for that. But yeah, as a character, I feel like Shadow offers more, but Metal Sonic is just so cool. Plus, it's kind of hard to like Shadow nowadays with all of his fans and just all the attention and glaze he gets. So it's easier for me to like more obscure characters, especially Metal Sonic. But yeah, I can see this take. Hypersonic says, I love Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1. I wouldn't say I love it, but I don't think it's that bad. The water sections are the biggest thing that people hate, but there are bubbles everywhere, and you probably won't drown if you take your time. And I know time is the thing people don't like about this stage, but come on. Edgelord says, hot take, Sonic Forces has short stages because of the whole plot. Eggman has won, the whole world is in flames, Resistance is not in a good condition, and every playable character takes the shortest possible route to make it on time before anything gets worse in every level. I've never thought of it that way. I guess that could be argued. There could be easier ways to have that done without making the stage like 50 seconds. Come on. But on the bright side, it does make you feel really fast. But yeah, that is an interesting hot take. I've never really thought of that. Blobman says, the Werehog is better than the adventure gameplay. Oh, wow. That is a big hot take. And I think by adventure gameplay, he means like all the gameplays, like mech shooting, treasure hunting, Amy's running, I guess. Gamma, Big, all of them. Wow. Werehog's better. Oof. Yeah, I don't think I can get behind this, but for hot takes though, that is great. I do like the Werehog though. Just the amount of moves and combos he can do makes him a lot of fun once you know how to do them. I have fun with them. Ian11 says, hot take, Sonic Frontiers is miles better than Unleashed. Ooh, okay, I can actually kind of see that. Frontiers does have that awesome open world aspect with just so much to explore, so much to do, and it takes a pretty long time to beat it too. Similarly, Chaos Edits says, Sonic Frontiers is the best game in the series. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Frontiers love. For both of these comments, yeah, I can see what you mean. Frontiers is awesome in my opinion. The music also I think is remarkable. Toasty Boy says, Sonic Forces has a better story than Shadow 05. Ooh. You know what? Call me crazy, but I can see this. I think the problem with Shadow 05's story is that it doesn't have a clear, straightforward plot. Although I do love the fact that you can choose your own route, which is a really unique way of doing it. People made fun of the writing in Forces, but to be honest, Colors, Generations, Lost World, they're all in like the same category for me. The story itself I thought was pretty cool. Buster Brown says, Advanced Trilogy is greater than Genesis Trilogy. Ooh, okay, I like this one. At first I thought this was going to be a no-brainer, but both are so good. Ooh, which one's better though? Oh, that is hard. Normally I would lean more into the Genesis Trilogy, just for like nostalgia, but the Advanced Trilogy is just so good. I don't know, this is like an impossible choice for me. Yeah, I can definitely see what you mean though. Animating SK says, Sonic 1's enemy placement is terrible, especially if you're trying to get all 6 of the Chaos Emeralds. Maybe the first time playing it, but even then I didn't even know that the Chaos Emeralds were a thing. And then by the time I got good at the game, then I started getting the Chaos Emeralds. Yeah, I'm not sure, I never even noticed. I guess I don't have much to say about this, but yeah, enemy placements can sometimes be annoying. Connor7Z says, Chaos Island Act 1 is the best level in Shadow Generations. I think the open layout of the level is perfect for Shadow's controls, and it combines a lot of quick thinking and using the Doom Morph. Yeah, I think Chaos Island Act 1 was pretty good. I would say it was like my 3rd or 4th favorite stage. There's a lot to enjoy about it. Also, you're not going to believe me, but I haven't played Shadow Generations like fully through since it released. So, I don't have that much to say, but yeah. The music of Walt Disney says, Sonic 3 and Knuckles still is the best game in the entire franchise. Well, can't wait to die when people see my comment. I mean, you're making it sound like that's an egregious hot take. 3 Knuckles has a lot to like about it. Whether that be the story, the levels, the level design, even the level themes and the graphics for the time. They're all really good. And not to forget the music. Masterpiece. But that's to be expected from a Sonic game, you know? Spynator says, Sonic Superstars is better than Sonic 1 and CD. Now, I think CD is a mid-game. I don't like how it forces you to explore. I think the exploration worked better in 3 and Knuckles at Mania, where it wasn't mandatory. I remember enjoying Superstars. I only played it like once. I enjoyed a lot of the levels. But the sad thing is, I did stop playing it once I got to the final boss, and that final boss was just so painful. And I looked at the game as mid because of the boss. But as for the whole game leading up until that point, I thought it was really good. Levels were fun, music was good sometimes, and yeah, I think it gets a little too much hate. Hussein Benayan says, CD is the worst mainline Sonic game. Oof, I'd have to disagree. I mean, I think it's just such a vibe. I can't even hate it anymore. I used to think it was mid, but after knowing the generator locations and getting the time stones, I just really enjoy it every time I play it back. The music is especially what makes me enjoy this game. Sonic Games and Reviews says, hot take, Sonic Boom's redesigns is not bad, except Knuckles. This one I can get behind. Now compared to their original designs, yeah, maybe they're not that good, but in and of themselves, I don't think they're bad. I like Amy and Tails' designs especially. Sonic looked okay. Yeah, Knuckles, he just looked wrong. Exalix says, Sonic 06 is one of the best Sonic games. I agree. Thanks for the comment. Nah, I'm kidding. I just made a video talking about my love for Sonic 06, so if you want to see that video, I'll leave the link in the description for that. But thanks for the comment. Xavier says, the split between modern and classic Sonic should have never existed. It was fine Generations because it was a celebration game, but in Forces he should have never came back, and now we have the split between modern and classic Sonic. Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like classic Sonic is what made Generations so special, and Mania was pretty good too. But once they kept bringing him back in Forces and Superstars, it just didn't feel the same. It felt like more of a, ooh, are we gonna get a modern game this time or a classic game this time, rather than a Sonic game, you know? Jeremy Rama says, SA2 is overrated. I see these guys all the time, this is no newbie. But yeah, I think it does come down to personal preference, because it's my favorite Sonic game, or at least used to be. Once again, I'm not sure. It's either Adventure 2 or 06. Kendall Comics says, I think the super peel out running animation should be the default for everything. Hey, I wouldn't really mind that, to be honest. I think the peel out really gives Sonic that cool look and makes him look like he's going fast. So yeah, if they brought that back, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd actually think it'd be pretty cool. Jaja says, Mecha Sonic Mark II is the coolest designed Sonic copy, with Neo Metal Sonic as a close second. While it's undeniable that Metal Sonic has better story potential, I feel like Mark II wins in the aura department. He has an aid to him, especially in 2D, that Metal can only dream of. Oh yeah, my Super Mario Bros. Z glaze gets to come in here. Yeah, Mecha Sonic Mark II had so much potential. He might be the only Sonic copy besides Neo Metal that has a super form. I really like Scrapnik Island where they brought him back. Like you said, he just has so much aura. I hope they can bring him back more, but I am also happy that they haven't ruined him. Eliezer says, Sonic Racing Crossworld's soundtrack is genuinely really good. The only song that I have heard that I don't like, in fact I kinda hate, is Galactic Parade. Everything else though has been really good, Sand Road and Halaska being tied for my favorites. I understand the hate, but in my opinion, I really like it. Dude, I thought the exact same. I think Galactic Parade was the only song I really didn't like. But yeah, like I said before, this soundtrack gets way too much hate. Just listen to Water Palace and Sand Road too. They're just such bangers. Mr. Incredibroni says, Sonic Prime is the best Blue Blur TV show. Ooh, okay, I see what you mean. I think the only thing that really held back Sonic Prime for me was Sonic's characterization, but everything else I actually really liked. The animation especially was just remarkable. Shadow's character too I also thought was pretty well done. It had a lot of really cool characters too. I hope sometime it gets to Season 4. I'd really like that. Ultimati says, there's no doubt Pete Capella is the best voice for Silver, but I really like his new voice done by Bryce Papenbrook. I haven't listened to many voice clips that he did, but I remember not really liking it, to be honest. I probably have to warm up to his voice first, but listening to his voice clips in the boss fight, I was kind of just like, eh. Alduin is cool says, we should have console/PC versions of the Sonic DS games. Oh, that isn't even a hot take, that is just facts. In fact, not even just the DS games, they should sometime port like the Advance games, the Rush games, the Riders games, the Rivals. Dude, there's so many games they haven't ported. But me personally, I would love to see like an Advance/Rush collection. That would be awesome. Gold Legend 3 says, the Avatar was one of the best ideas for the franchise. I think it actually was a good idea. It had a lot of potential, but it's too bad there weren't that many customizable options, and it was pretty hard to make your avatar look cool. If there were more options for like species and eyes and, you know, different things, I think that could be really cool. Little Silver says next, Silver should be playable in another platforming game. This is because he's barely been used for the last 18 years, and his psychokinetic powers plus the boost formula would make incredible gameplay. He also needs more time to shine as a character in general, so just a story with him as one of the main focuses would please me also. Stop dumping him to the side, Sega. Bro, facts. I I 100% agree though. Silver, he has so much gameplay potential with his psychokinesis and just his abilities throughout the years. They just have so much to work with this character. Yeah, they really need to bring him back. And not just to bring him back, but to also bring back his 06 personality. Because to be honest, I think that was where he was at his peak. But yeah, Silver would have so much gameplay potential, especially in the modern day. Dude, a Silver spinoff would just be awesome. Please, Sega, do it. Neo Metal Plus says, Sonic and the Black Knight is top 5. It is really good, I have to admit. I don't know about top 5 for me, but it's up there. It's got everything. Story, voice acting, cutscenes, even gameplay I think is pretty fun. But yeah, definitely agree with that. General Goose. Goose? How do I say his name? Anyway, he says Sonic CD is a good game. I don't know if this is a hot take, but yeah, I agree. The time travel's fun in my opinion. The exploration's fun in my opinion. The stages are fun in my opinion. But yeah. Not sure if that's a hot take, but thanks for it regardless. Quadruple says, the hate on IDW Sonic characters is dumb, and the story too is too forced, and people are just hating it to be different. Yeah, I never got the hate for IDW. I thought the stories were awesome. I only read the Metal Virus arc, but I've heard people say that was one of the best arcs, so, I mean, hey, can't argue there. Everfinity says, Sonic doesn't need a redesign. It's good as it is. Yeah, I don't know why people are like, Sonic needs a redesign. There is no chance in the world that if Sega gave him a redesign, that everybody would be happy with it. No, people would go crazy. They would be like, this is terrible, this is so bad. They already did it with Sonic Boom, and that turned out how it did. But yeah, I think it's for the best that he keeps his current design. 44 Steve says, I despise IDW's adaptation of Silver. In my opinion, they've only started writing him well in the comics recently. Rival/06 Silver is the GOAT. Yeah, I agree. I feel like Silver is just too much of a nice, nerdy kind of guy, rather than serious and determined, but yeah. Cheyenne says, Elise is extremely overhated. Yeah, I agree. Besides the one cutscene in the final story, Elise, in my opinion, just isn't bad. Like, there's not much I actually hate about her. People argue she's useless, but what's she gonna do? She's a human. She's not just gonna start smashing robots like Sonic does. I would go into more depth, but that would take too long. In short, I agree. Sonic Rush is the best boost game, and Unleashed is overrated. Oh yeah, getting some Rush love. I still think I prefer Unleashed over Rush, but Rush has to be like a second for me when it comes to boost games. Yeah, Sonic Rush is just awesome. I always love replaying the game. There's so many things to like about it. PVZ Mario Sonic A8 fan says, speaking of the Sonic Advance series, I love the moves introduced in that series. Tag action, spring tricks, and B moves. Yeah, they are some of my favorite mechanics probably in the series. They're so fun, they make the gameplay so smooth. The team mechanics in Advance 2 are probably my favorite in the Advance trilogy, but the spring tricks make the gameplay really smooth. Luminex says, honestly, I would prefer an 06 remake over the Adventure and Heroes remix. Also, much support, hope you do well on YouTube in the future. Hey, thanks man, appreciate it. Yeah, for the remakes, I'm not sure why everybody wants an 06 remake, because P06 is right there. I feel so bad if they actually made an official remake when Chaos X and his team spent so much time on P06. Dylan Bros 64 says, I honestly hate Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Mania. Wow, hate is a strong word. You know I gotta disagree, but wow. That is a big hot take for sure. I do think the 3D games are more fun than the 2D games. They're a lot more replayable in my opinion, but come on, I can't understand this take. Still, you do you, I guess. SG Aber, or S Gabber, I think, says, Sonic Lost World is one of the best Sonic games of all time, and Sonic Colors is the worst Sonic game of all time. Ooh, wow. Getting some Lost World love, I see. Yeah, the more and more Lost World comments I get, the more I really want to revisit the game. Yeah, maybe I am giving the game a little too much criticism, but yeah, that is a pretty big hot take though. Charizard Slash says, Sonic Speed Simulator is a top 3 Sonic game, only behind Black Knight and Sonic X Shadow Generations. The controls, characters, open zone design, and physics are great, and you can completely ignore the loot boxes. I've been playing Sonic Speed Simulator a lot recently, and it's very addicting. Yeah, I think the amount of characters that are in the game, the controls, even just the open level design, makes the game a lot of fun. I could definitely see the love. Bean Lava says, Silver needs more attention by Sonic Team. He's only had 2 actually relevant appearances. One of them was just a remix of his first one, and the rest of his appearances were mediocre and misrepresentative of his personality in 06. Yeah, this is just facts. Like I've been saying, I do want Silver to come back, but at the same time I really want them to do his personality and character right. Cause that would be the worst thing if they finally bring him back, but just have his character all wrong. I would hate that so much. But hey, just anything of Silver nowadays would be really cool. Indominus Rex says, Eggman's 06 design is pretty good. A lot of people hate it, but I think it's decent. If I were to imagine Eggman more like a human, that's probably what I would imagine him like. I think it does its job pretty well. But yeah, I agree. And that's not just 06 glaze, I actually think that. Flaming Sion 17 says, I guess my hot take is the 3D Sonic era was the Sonic era. Sonic 06 was the last true adventure game. Same story with multiple playable characters, and it was Sonic and the gang. Ever since, it's just been Sonic following the same story and boosting formula. There's nothing wrong with that. My favorite Sonic games are Sonic Unleashed and Shadow Generations, but back when we got to experience a Sonic game with the whole crew, it was the best Sonic period. Yeah, one thing that does affect my ranking for Sonic games is just the fact that there are more characters, and yeah, the whole gang being there. And yeah, games like Generations and Colors, they're good gameplay-wise, but there always just seems like something missing, when it's basically just Sonic, Tails, and Eggman. I definitely see what you mean, and I agree. Chaos Spider Downscore 147 says, I personally think Shadow Generations was overrated. The story could have been better, there could have been more levels, and why is Sunset Heights and Chaos Island included if this took place before Forces and Frontiers? It just doesn't make sense. Well, I think the reason that Sunset Heights and Chaos Island appear is just because the Time Eater messed with all of time, so I guess the future got brought into the present as well, give or take. Maybe it does get a little overrated, but I can understand the love for it. It's a really fun game. Smasher the Blue Cat says, there should be a Sonic story of sorts where the main cast interact with characters from every Sonic cartoon/anime in the series history. It could be something like Eggman planning to control every Sonic world in existence. Yeah, seeing Big the Cat interact with Dave the intern from Sonic Boom would just be absolute cinema. Nah, but seriously, that'd be pretty cool. I'd love to see shows like Sonic X and even Sonic Prime get brought back, even though it's only been like a year. That sounds like a cool idea though. Hustle says, Sonic Heroes is mid. Ooh, I've heard that one quite a bit. I do think the game has some problems. A lot of times the characters are slippery, you can easily fall off the stage a lot of the time, and grinding. Yeah, grinding. But I think there's a lot of stuff to enjoy from the game. I could go through all the stuff, but that would take way too long. At the end of the day, not everybody's gonna like the same thing. So I can understand why you think it's mid, but I still really enjoy it. Nathaniel Adams says, Sonic and the Black Knight has the best story. Yeah, Black Knight's story is really good. I feel like the plot itself isn't that much, but the story itself is really good, like the writing. But yeah, I'm always happy to see the storybook games get some love. They're both really awesome. Paper Bros says, Sonic 4 Episode 2 is better than Sonic 1 and CD. I can see this. I haven't played Sonic 4 Episode 2 for long, but it was pretty fun. I'm more nostalgic for Sonic 1 since it was my first Sonic game. I'm not that old, I just played it first. But Sonic 4 Episode 2 might be better than Sonic 1 in my opinion. Not sure, I gotta make another list. Pepsi Dog says, Sonic Adventure 2 is more broken in ways that are detrimental to having fun than Sonic 06. This is one that I don't agree with and kind of agree with at the same time too. What do I say? I feel like if it was something like Sonic Heroes, I could understand it more, but Sonic Adventure 2's hate is usually maybe just a bit of a skill issue, maybe a bit of jank sometimes, but I wouldn't say broken. Still though, I respect your opinion. Master Chief says, the in-game 06 model is the best Sonic model to date. I think it's awesome. It's definitely one of my favorites. My favorite's either the Adventure 2 one or the Storybook Games one. I feel like both of those are just really awesome. But yeah, not just Sonic's model, but Shadow's model, Silver's model, heck, All the characters' models look great in 06. They're some of my favorites. But thanks for the comment, Master Chief. Tronic says, the adventure games are not good adaptations of the classic formula into 3D, but the fan games designed after the adventure formula are perfect adaptations. As for like on par with the classic formula, that makes sense. The adventure games were drastically different from the classic games, but I still think they did a great job with them. Apollonia the Magic Horn says, Sonic 4 Episode 1 is better than Sonic Blast, Game Gear. Yeah, I agree. I already thought Sonic 4 Episode 1 wasn't that bad, and Sonic Blast is just not that fun in my opinion. So yeah, put it simply, agreed. Katso SMC 2002 says, there should be a second or even third Sonic team so we can be getting proper mainline games every 1 to 2 years. Yeah, getting a mainline game once every 4 or 5 years may be annoying for waiting, but I don't really care as long as the games are good and the wait is worth it. But yeah, getting the mainline games faster would be pretty cool. Bon says, I like the Knuckle stages in SA2 more than the Shadow stages. Oh wow, that's a pretty good hot take. I really enjoyed Knuckles' SA2 treasure hunting stages. I think they get a little too much hate. They're fun once you get good at them and master them, but I still think I prefer the speed stages, especially Sonic, but Shadow stages are still really good too. Knuckles is probably my third favorite gameplay though. It's a lot of fun in my opinion. Cosmico says, I honestly think people give William Corkery, Hero's Tales, too much flack. Sure, everybody can agree that acting was bad, but the voice itself is adorable and fits him. And his voice improved in Sonic Advance 3 and Battle. Although not my favorite, if his acting was better, he'd be top 3 Tails, lol. Yeah, I agree with this one. I do think his voice isn't that good, but I do think it fits Tails pretty well. Slushmongus. Chip should have been a reoccurring character. Him being a one-off makes sense, but I want him back. I'm actually not sure if I agree. Not because he's annoying, I think his friendship with Sonic was really good, but I don't really see a reason why he would come back. It'd still be nice to see him again, but like I said, I think he really need a good purpose to come back in order to be brought back. Foliaire Fox says, Sonic Colors is a bad game. I think I've gotten this exact one in a previous Hot Takes video. But yeah, I think the story is pretty mid, but other than that, I think it has a lot of great things about it. Visuals, gameplay, all that sort of thing. Derek Boy says, I think Eggman's current voice actor, Mike Pollock, is the worst voice actor in the Sonic games, and I think that the one in the early 2000s is his best voice actor. I never thought I'd actually see the day where Mike Pollock's Eggman got hate. I mean, I can understand if you say the worst Eggman, but the worst voice actor? Come on, no way. That's still a good hot take though, but the worst one in the series? Wow. CS says, Sonic Generations is better than Shadow Generations. Once again, I think it does come down to personal preference, but I think I prefer Shadow Gens mostly just for the story. But Sonic Gens, of course, is still really good. Atlasuk says, Sonic 06 had one of the greatest stories and developments. Yep, I agree with this one. Now, call it 06 Glaze, but come on, the story is just awesome. If you want to see me rant about Sonic 06 for a little over 10 minutes, you can check out this video here. But yeah, I think the story gets the most unjustified hate. I honestly really liked it. The characters were really well written, plot holes don't even bother me, especially when 06's weren't like blatantly obvious.
At least to me.
But yeah, agreed. Pisco Taze says, with the exception of Sonic Forces, I think that the short quills for Sonic look pretty good in Frontiers and even in Lost World. It wasn't as obvious in Lost World because the fur color was the same. Yeah, the shorter quills don't bother me as much as they do for a lot of other people. The way Sonic looks in Frontiers and Crossworlds too, I think it looks pretty good. Eskimo says, Sonic Colors is better than Sonic Heroes. Gameplay-wise. Story-wise, no. Ooh, this one's making me think, because both games are pretty close for me gameplay-wise. I think I may be leaning a little more towards Sonic Heroes, but Sonic Colors is close in the gameplay department for me. Yeah, I definitely see what you mean there. Sonic says, 4Kids Amy is the best Amy. Yeah, I can agree. I miss Amy when she had her personality of the 2000s. I haven't cared for Amy that much, but I can understand the love for her. She's a good character. Sonic DBZ fan says, hot take, Sonic 1 is more fun to play than CD. I just think CD has annoying and confusing level designs. I think if you play Sonic CD like the other classic games, then you would think it's mid. Playing Sonic CD itself, I think it's a lot of fun. It has a lot of cool mechanics. Sizzlum says, Sonic 1 is the worst Sonic game. Wow. You mean like worst Sonic game ever? Like even Tails Sky Patrol? Ugh. Nah, I gotta disagree with you there. If you mean mainline game, I guess that's reasonable. But if you mean worst game in general, that is a big hot take. Moon DeWolf Moth says, I genuinely like Sonic Forces. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of flaws, but it has a special place in my heart. I get that, especially games I played years ago. Sonic Forces I think is good. It definitely has flaws, but I could never hate the game. But yeah, I see what you mean. Hibernian says, there should be more spin-offs for Sonic's friends. Knuckles, Tails, and Silver all could be very strong in their own games. Knuckles especially could be good in a Werehog style game. His abilities could lead to an interesting moveset. All these characters would lend to a better solo game than Shadow, as their abilities are completely different to Sonic. Dude, that would be like my dream Sonic game. To have like a spin-off of Knuckles, like exploring Angel Island in 3D as like an open world game. Dude, that would be so awesome. One can dream though. Robbie Boy Downscore YT says, Sonic 4, both episodes 1 and 2, are overhated. Yeah, I agree. I say it a lot, but I think both of these games mostly get hate for their names, and I think the games in and of themselves are pretty good. They're not perfect, of course, but I don't think they're that bad. Come on. Tails Fan says, I know this is very late, but Sonic Advance 1 is the worst Advance game in the trilogy of both Advance 2 and 3. And Advance 1 feels a lot more slower than all the Advance games in general. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just not my playing style. I actually agree. I think if you're a fan of the classic games, you'd love Advance 1, but if you prefer speed, Advance 2 and 3 are definitely your picks, as they are for me. Advance 2 and 3 are really close for me, but I feel like I prefer Advance 3 just for the team-ups and the team mechanics, especially the music too. Chowstar Gaming says, Forces is greater than Gens. Wow, I've gotten a hot take like this before, and yeah, that's all I could say, just yeah. I think the story is better, and arguably the music, I don't know about that, but the music is pretty good. I'd say graphics are also better in some ways, but yeah, I think in general, Gens has Forces beat for me. 9 Yenis says, Sonic Project 06 still feels bad to play and is annoying as heck. I haven't played the original 06, only Project. Trying to see how I can relate to this, but I don't know, I've always liked Project 06. But, I mean, I like the original better. Ishan Plays says, Forces has the best air boost in the entire franchise, even though Forces is mid to me. Wow, that's a pretty unique hot take. I will admit, flying through the stages with the air boost is a lot of fun. It may be cheap, but still, it is satisfying to do. For me, I'd probably say Unleashed is my favorite air boost. It's kind of a weird question, so I guess it is. DeGreat Nelson says, Sonic Battle is the best handheld Sonic game. Alright, over 50 minutes in, and now we get the first Sonic Battle hot take. Nice. Yeah, I think my favorite would either be Advance 2, Advance 3, or Battle. But Battle is awesome. I love the story and characters. Plus, I think the gameplay is pretty good as well. KKO Games says, and I'm sorry, Levi, but Lost World is better than SA2. Alright, come on. My least favorite mainline game versus my favorite mainline game. How could you? I guess that's understandable. SA2 is a game you really have to commit to in order for it to be fun. But once you do and get good at it, that's where all the fun lies. To me, at least. The game has a pretty high skill ceiling, so, yeah, I think you know what I'm trying to say. Formula Trash says, Sonic Lost World is fire if you forget Mario existed. Yeah, that is fair. Most of the hate Lost World gets is the fact that it feels like a Mario game. So yeah, if Mario didn't exist, the game would be really good. But since it does, it felt like a copy. Evan Bogus says, I'm honestly not a fan of the earlier games. To me, it's slightly different from your average platformer, but not quite different enough to make me want to play it. Specifically, I find the advanced games too slippery and some of the levels are kind of frustrating.
3D Sonic has a pretty big appeal to me though. I like the style of Frontiers a lot. I also personally prefer the 3D games over the 2D games, but to me the 2D games were like the foundation of Sonic games. But yeah, the advanced games too, they definitely take some getting used to, but once you do, they're fun. And yeah, I really like the style of Frontiers as well. I think it's really good. The Box Man says, I'm a bit biased, but in my opinion, Frontiers is the best Sonic game. Yeah, I think I got one like this already, but yeah, I can see that. It's in my top 5. I really think it's a lot of fun. I love running around the open zone, finding collectibles, defeating the Titans, going fishing. It's a lot of fun to me. And the last hot take from J. McBrutalizer. He says, Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric, and Shattered Crystal are atrocious pieces of garbage. It's worse than the entirety of the Sonic Dark Ages. No one can change my mind. I hate this game. Okay, wow. I have a soft spot for Rise of Lyric. I don't think it's garbage like a lot of people do. I actually have fun with it. I like a lot of things that it does, especially like the animation of the characters. I think their expressions are all pretty good. I think my biggest issue is just the frame rates. But yeah, thanks for the comment. And that was every Sonic hot take that you guys left. Thank you to everyone who left their hot take on that post. This video was a lot of fun to make. And thank you most of all to you, the viewer, for making it to the end of this video. I really do appreciate it, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.